December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. These famous words were muttered by our President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He muttered these words after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. This is what got us into World War II. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Just a Fun Guy, and today I'm doing my first top 10, or really my first video in this format since it's been 4 months. The last video I did in this format was the top 5 rows you forgot Betty White starred in, and that was 4 months ago. Well, again, I have top 10 things you did not know about Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was a horrible attack on American soil, and as much as we know about it, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about it. And I'm going to teach you about the stuff that you may have not known about it. Well, I sure hope you learned something today, and if you do, make sure to give my video a big thumbs up and subscribe. Here we go! Number 10. Number 10, I actually have a bonus fact for you. But the first fact of number 10 is that Pearl Harbor could have actually been prevented if we had taken action. About an hour before the flight, on the radar, there were a whole bunch of planes being detected. And of course they didn't take action because they thought the planes were a bunch of B-52 bombers that were expected to land on base. But boy were they wrong. And then the Japanese attacked, and that kind of leaves it with a big what if. The second fact, Hitler could have never taken over France if France actually acted. And there was this one particular road in France where half the German army was bottlenecked, and that was one of the worst traffic jams in history. And if France had taken action, and France and Britain, and they gathered every bomber known to man, they could have easily bombed the German army, and then Hitler would have never taken over France. But instead, the French government abandoned their people, and the French people were taken slave and forced to do labor in a foreign country. Fact number 9. The attacks on Pearl Harbor lasted for a long time. What do I mean by that? The first bomb was dropped within 5 minutes of the attack. The attack lasted 2 whole hours. And in that time, 2,400 men were killed and over 1,100 men were injured. Horrible. Number 8. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, the Japanese attacked it before declaring war. The Japanese did not declare a formal declaration of war before attacking Pearl Harbor. But what they did send was a 14-part message saying they were going to break negotiations and treaties and all that. When FDR got a hold of that message and all those messages, he read it as "this means war." Since the attacks, there has been a large oil plume that has accumulated under the harbor. A lot of oil and a lot of fuel have been spilled, and some ships are still leaking fuel and oil today. When it comes to how much oil has been spilled since the attacks, 5 million gallons. Now, to give an idea how much 5 million gallons is, this is a 5 million gallon water tank in Fort Worth, Texas. Just think about how much oil is 5 million gallons. I can hardly believe it myself. Today, a lot of Americans visit Pearl Harbor, but also a lot of Japanese visit Pearl Harbor too, since it's both a part of our histories, both American and Japanese. And surprise, there's a lot more Japanese tourists that visit Pearl Harbor than you'd think, too. This man, he was the first POW in America of World War II. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I will butcher it horribly, and I just don't want to do that. But he was in a submarine in American waters a couple of days before Pearl Harbor happened, and he was caught in a submarine destroyed. But just because he was a POW doesn't mean he was killed. He actually survived being a POW, and after leaving the war, worked for Toyota, and he eventually passed away in 1999. The year 2020. It's been over 75 years, or just about 75 years, since World War II. And it has been said that there are only 300,000 veterans from that war left. We gotta appreciate our World War II veterans while we still have them. Because just like everybody else, eventually they're all gonna pass away. And if you're a World War II vet that passes away, you do have an option to be buried at Pearl Harbor. You can have the options of having your ashes set down in the bottom of the harbor or spread into the harbor. And I gotta say, it's cool that they want to be buried along with their brothers. In the aftermath of the Pearl Harbor attacks, the Japanese were able to sink 8 ships. The interesting thing is, 6 of those ships were actually recovered. They were repaired and reused for war afterwards. Only 2 of the ships, I think it's just 2, that are actually still in the harbor today. Number 2. Japan and America may have been enemies in World War II, but today, in America, Japan is one of its strongest allies. Fact number 1 goes back to my intro. This is FDR's famous 7-minute long speech. He started off with December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. If you take a look at the original script, FDR originally wasn't going to say that. It says, yesterday, a date that will live in world history. He crossed it out and put infamy. Now, if that's FDR's most famous line in any of his speeches, it has been ingrained in our minds for the past 75 years, a date that will live in infamy. Now, imagine if it was a date that will live in world history. That doesn't sound right. Regardless of what he was going to say or not, that is always going to be what FDR said. He's always going to be known for December 7th, 1941, a date that will live in infamy. Well, that was the top 10 facts you may have not known about Pearl Harbor. My name is Mr. Fungi. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell icon and do all that good stuff. Until next time, I'm signing off. So long, YouTube.